When an asteroid threatens all life on Earth, it's up to Bruce Willis and his team of oil drillers to save the world. This is Armageddon, and it's the most bombastic and stylish of this very specific subgenre. It's also complete garbage, and 10-year-old me was an idiot. Welcome everyone to the Collector's Cut. I am Peter, and joining me as always is David.
The president's advisors are wrong, and I'm right.
This is a movie podcast. We are working through disaster season, and the first half of this disaster season has been specifically about asteroids / meteors / comets. Surely there's a word to kind of bundle those all together, but regardless, objects from space hurling towards Earth and the prevention of said
angry space rock.
Angry space rocks, yes. So today we're looking at Armageddon, which is the natural kind of next step after Deep Impact, which we did last week. This is the Michael Bay directed movie with Bruce Willis and a whole other bunch of people we'll mention when we get into it a little bit. We'll start spoiler free in case you somehow don't know much about Armageddon. We'll give you a warning before we get to the spoilers, and if you're enjoying the show, please do hit the like button on YouTube. It helps out a bunch. You can support everything over at Patreon or via YouTube membership and get some bonuses, but I'll tell you more about that at the end of the show. So this is a movie I saw. I mean, I don't think I saw it in theaters, but I saw it when it came out otherwise, like probably when it hit cable or something around then. So it was one that I saw as a kid and probably saw it a few times like throughout like teenage years, in that vicinity. Yeah. And then I haven't seen it maybe in a good 10 to 15 years now at this point. It's been a while. I assume you're in a similar kind of vein.
I have an identical, I think it's almost exactly the same, to the point where, no spoilers on this, but there are, the version I watched, I rented it to watch it. There are like scenes that play over the beginning of the end credits. I don't think I've ever seen those before, because all the cable channels just cut to like squishing them up in the corner and moving them out of the way as we move on to the next thing.
Yeah. I mean, the premise is pretty similar to Deep Impact in a lot of ways. There is an asteroid coming towards Earth, although the way that it's discovered and the rules of asteroids are very different in this movie. Which, given this is the Michael Bay one, now I'm not saying Deep Impact is accurate by any means. I'm assuming that it very much isn't. But given this is the Michael Bay one, them not knowing it's coming until it's 18 days away just feels super fake. I don't know about you, but that felt really like, that's quick. Holy crap, 18 days?
I'm just going to read the number one trivia on IMDb. Number one trivia. NASA shows this film during their management training program. New managers are given the task of trying to spot as many errors as possible. To date, at least 168 errors have been found.
That's wonderful. That's just wonderful. So the premise of this movie is that the plan to stop the asteroid involves a nuclear bomb, which is not unusual, but they believe that to split the asteroid, they have to blow it up from the inside, like deep inside the middle of it. Therefore, they have to drill. So the plot of this movie is taking a team of deep sea oil drillers up into space because they're the experts in drilling. And that's what the whole movie's kind of core conflict and kind of, it's not just astronauts, it's people who don't even belong in space. They've not been trained with strict discipline.
You want to, look, we'll get to like specifics of this, but if you want to see like what an American thinks of themselves as American, in like the egotistical, like I'm proud of my country way, like this is it. This is like we astronauts, those smart learning people. Nah, we need salt of the earth guys. We need people with some dirt on their hands up in space. They're the only ones who can fix the real problems.
Yeah, so I guess the best way to sum up the general premise of this movie is to dip in here and recount the famous segment of the Ben Affleck audio commentary track that is on the Criterion DVD, which, yes, for some reason, this and The Rock got Criterion releases. They made some sort of deal with Disney to...
I didn't wear my jacket, my Criterion jacket. Darn.
to put those movies out. But on the commentary, Ben Affleck, and the reason why I was reminded of this actually is because Criterion do those Criterion Closet videos where they have like an actor or director go into their closet of movies and they get to pick out a handful and they talk about them a little bit. And he picked up Armageddon and he brings up this commentary track because people still mention it to him to this day. And he basically admits that he didn't realize that he maybe shouldn't be as like just honest as he was when he was recording that. But there's a segment of that commentary where he describes one moment on set where he turned to Michael Bay and said, wouldn't it be easier to train the astronauts to drill than train the drillers how to be astronauts? And Michael Bay just got frustrated and said, shut the F up, Ben. And I think that sums up the attitude of this movie pretty well.
It does, absolutely. I will say there is one throwaway line in this movie where, like, Bruce Willis tries to justify it, where he's just like, you're asking me to teach you, like, things I learned over decades of experience. There's no way I could do that. And completely ignoring the fact that, like, no, they just need enough to know how to work this robot, man. That's, like, a day tops.
Do you know what? I would even accept they need like him and maybe a couple other people up there as advisors to make decisions about the drilling part, because they're hitting snags and they have to make decisions and whatnot. Experienced drillers needed for that, sure, but the idea that the majority of the crew will be these drillers is really weird. Like, surely most of the people should still be people who are there to fly the ship and maintain things and all the other jobs that he'd done in space. But they're vastly outnumbered, right? We have a couple of pilots, we have a couple of people who are there for the nuke specifically, and then the rest of them are all Steve Buscemi and co.
That's it, yeah. In terms of the characters, you can convince me Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck very easily. They're intelligent with their careers. They know exactly, like, they are top dogs here. You can convince me Michael Clark Duncan. He is just heavy machinery. He knows how to move this stuff. Absolutely need him to move stuff around. I don't think there is a chance in hell you're convincing me Steve Buscemi in any capacity on an oil
Steve
rig
Buscemi
is going... Pervert / super genius Steve Buscemi. Which, you gave him this slash where I would say 3 other members of this crew don't even have a single character trait to go on. But nah, he needs 2 things. Good on him.
Yeah, so this is the big dumb one, right? If that's not clear... It's the big dumb one. And I said last time, because I wasn't super hot in Deep Impact, I was a bit lukewarm on it as a whole, and I said, you know what, in my memory, I think Armageddon probably works better as a movie, just because it's, it's more about being a movie and having a movie structure for better or worse, and maybe that will be more entertaining. And I said, but having said that, I've not seen it in a long time. So we'll come back in here this week, and we'll find out if that statement is complete bullshit or not.
Yeah.
It's a complicated answer, honestly. It's complicated because, well, I think the principle of what I was saying when I said that, in essence, is kind of true. I will say, however...
It's standard blockbuster.
Yeah.
Like, it follows a flow.
But I will say, the experience of actually sitting through this, again, with all of the quick edits, where... we're not allowed to have a shot last more than a second, or Michael Bay gets, like, restless. He's like, no, we need to keep cutting, cut.
If there's not something moving in the shot, we'll move the camera to make it move in the shot. Like, that's a constant.
He's got, like, ADD or something. I don't know, but, everything is moving at such a breakneck pace. And there's a great example, actually. There's a great example later on. I won't spoil context here, obviously. But there's a line from William Fichtner, who's in this movie, a great character actor who pops up a lot. There's a line in this movie... where he says, and this is very near the end, he says, wait, too much time has passed. He literally says that line of dialogue, and I went, it's been 5 seconds. What are you talking about? There's been not a single sense that time has moved. Like, nothing in this movie that's supposed to feel like time is passing feels like it's passing. And it's because of the editing style, it's because of this weird breakneck speed, and there's, like, 5 extra, like, mini disasters along the way to make everything an action sequence. And I'm like, see if you took those out and let the main thing just breathe and let the debates about that breathe and make it be about what's the right thing to do, you could have a compelling story. Instead, it's like, no, all of a sudden a fire started here. We have to now deal with this for 5 minutes and have more whiz-bang action. Anyway, the movie's not good, right? It's a shitty movie, frankly. It's not very good. What do you think?
What Well, yeah, I was gonna say, what if I came in here and was just like, this is my favorite. I forgot how much I love this film.
But you're not going to say that. I know you're not.
No, I hated this movie. I hate this movie. I look, this movie in my mind should have been like the canary in the coal mine when it's like Michael Bay is hopping on the Transformers franchise, because everything that's wrong with those is here. It's right here, and it's only gets worse as we continue onwards. And this movie started off with me already not feeling it, because because I know where the plot ends up and you see where this movie starts, the beginning feels so superfluous. It feels so tacked on for absolutely no reason. But then
just for
ignoring
sake.
that, yeah, of course. But just ignoring that, moving into it, it kept moving its way down and down the ladder. It kept pissing me off more and more with those fast cuts, with everyone and their mothers is throwing out witty one-liners that's just like put it on a t-shirt.
You know, it's not even, David, it's not even just that those witty one-liners, it's that much like the editing style, which we're saying is too quick, there's too much going on, he has to get, right, the talking, everyone has to be talking and yelling constantly. Yes.
I paused the movie at one point because there's just a certain segment. It's when they're almost towards the end, like third act. I paused it and rewound 20 seconds, and I got my wife and I said, hey, count how many just one-liners, exclamations, shoutings, whatever, things that don't actually further the plot are in these 20 seconds. And she got up to 9. 9 completely separate, different lines that did nothing to further the plot. And that's like, at a certain point, I started having fun with this movie. I was laughing at this movie. I thought it was like so awful that it was just laughably bad. And then it kept going for another 45 minutes. And I rolled back over again into I hate this movie.
There was a point where they were just about landing on the asteroid, and I checked the time and there was an hour left, and I went, oh no, an hour? How is there an hour left in this movie?
Oh my God.
What are we doing here with our lives?
And I'm just going to blanket say this is by far and away the smallest possible thing.
Yeah.
But I, for reasons completely separate from this movie, hate Aerosmith's Don't Want to Miss a Thing. I hate that song. So the fact that it showed up in possibly the dumbest scene in this movie, and that is saying something for how dumb this movie is, I was already just checked out by like the 30-minute mark. I was done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that. This song, Aerosmith's perfectly fine. I don't particularly feel that passionate about them, but it's fine.
It's unrelated. It has nothing to do with this movie, but this movie's not currying any favors because of it.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. I agree that there's almost like a pivot point of like maybe you can start enjoying this for the absolute dumb shit that it is, and like laugh at the tropes and the cliches. I can't say the line because it is spoiler territory, but there's a line of dialogue in the last like 3 minutes that made me burst out laughing because of just how clunky it is, and I'm like, that's not a natural line of dialogue. But I'll bring that. I'll definitely bring that up when we get there. Constant effects, constant whiz-bang editing.
Yes.
Right? A good example early on of how you've got those annoying, shouty Michael Bay characters because he thinks it's funny is right at the very start. There's a guy who spots the asteroid in his telescope, and the interaction between this man and his wife, who are only in 2 small scenes, she comes into his he's got like a proper observatory, right? A big telescope. And she comes in and she's like, I don't even remember what she asked, but he's like, hey, go get my books. I need my books. And she's like, do I have a sign on me that says I'm your slave? And then instead of like him being apologetic, which might be the natural course of events, he instead gets Michael Bay character angry and just says, shut up, bitch. Get me my books. Get me my... And he yells like 3 times, right? And then the payoff to this is later on he's on the phone to NASA and he's like, hey, I spotted this. I discovered this. I get to name it, right? I want to name it Dottie after my wife. And it's like almost a sweet moment. It's like, because she's such a stubborn, cold bitch, I think is a perfect name. And I'm like, that's Michael Bay's humor. That is Michael Bay's humor in 2 sequences.
You mean general misogyny? I agree.
yes. I mean, I guess that's the word you... If you were to put a label on it, I suppose that's what you would call it, yes.
If I want to call Duck a duck, I guess I'd call Michael Bay's humor misogyny. Yes, that seems accurate to the point.
Yes.
I agree. Like, and that's, again, that first segment was pissing me off so much because it was just so fast, so everything. But if it were like, okay, this random ass dude who's like walking his dog downtown New York, if I even had an inkling that this was a person that we were going to be following, that this is someone who's actually relevant to the plot, I think I'd be more okay with the scene. It's just the fact that none of these people, not a single person up until like the 25-minute mark, are people that we actually give a damn about.
Yes, you mean the dog walker who's yelling things like, "You gotta take a dump!" at his dog as he's going through the streets of New York, that character? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and like everyone else in that entire sequence, like the telescope guy, he counts in that, everyone else. Oh my God. I just got so unreasonably angry at this movie. And I want to play ball with it. I want to be someone who can sit there and watch a movie and have fun with it. But like, it sucks. It's a bad movie.
I would love to know if people who were, you know, over the age of 25 when this came out, if they thought this was just as shit as I do now, and the only reason why it got by is because we were all kids at the time, so it didn't, you know, obviously all the shittiness of it wasn't good because it kind of appealed to an immature mind inherently. Yeah. So I just wonder, like, were adults into this at the time? Like, what's happening here? Well,
there's another IMDb trivia bit. I'm trying to find it at the moment, but apparently, here we go. Apparently that there was a critic, Bay remembers how much Armageddon was knocked by critics. As Bay notes, they have an average age of 45. So he believes all critics around that time are 45 years old. There was a critic for the LA Times when he went to a screening. Bay was there, and he watched the critic during the screening who says, he literally looked like he had a scowl on his face, and I'm telling you, the audience cheered at least 12 times. I don't think he liked that. So with the age thing in mind, and with the idea of critics being at least 45, and him having to specifically mention the critic was 45, I think he's banking on this being like ages 15 to 19 as the core demographic.
Yes, or even younger, to be honest, because I mean, I feel because this was PG-13, so or 12 in the UK, and they have their one F-bomb. This is, I guess, when that started around then. Cause I don't remember it too long before this.
Yeah, probably.
Honestly, I'm like, obviously, I'm actually like, I have fond memories of The Rock. I really do. There's a great cast in that movie. I've got fond memories. I'm looking forward to a season one day where we do The Rock, either as a Nicolas Cage season or whatever the season might be, you know, 90s action movies. But I'm a little bit worried because in my memory, while I always remembered Armageddon being kind of a big dumb blockbuster, I remembered it being better than this, and I'm a little concerned that my fond memories of The Rock are going to be absolutely obliterated when I rewatch it.
That's entirely possible. I mean, it's one of those things where maybe you got a case where Michael Bay like hit it so big with The Rock that he thought he was invincible, and this is him just kind of starting to go off the deep end. But I have yet to see a Michael Bay movie that I think I just like. I think most of them I'm just coming at this with disdain in general.
Because I mean, I can like some dumb movies, but there's just Michael Bay's brand of dumb is just kind of obnoxious. And not in the same way as like a Zack Snyder obnoxious. That's kind of more up its own ass. Like he thinks he's doing great work. Michael Bay doesn't think he's making something smart, but he's kind of very arrogant about how like cool it is regardless. It's kind of like a weird, like it's a very different flavor, right? It feels different to certain other directors.
No, Zack Snyder is absolutely the like, you don't get it. Like, I'm doing something big here and you just don't understand. Michael Bay's like, I'm wearing it all on my sleeve, but this ain't your daddy's movie. Click, boom, behind him. Like, that's all Michael Bay is. I said that he runs on testosterone, explosions, and the American dream. That's Michael Bay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the fact that this movie starts off with their oil drillers, like Bruce Willis is like hitting golf balls at protesters who are protesting oil, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. The older I get, the less I think this is an endearing character introduction, and the more I think the movie has maybe some politics that I can't get behind. But all right, you know.
I can't believe that for a second. What are you talking about? Especially considering there's the sequence later on in the movie where everyone lists their demands, and I'm pretty sure like 5 of those things I'm like, you all should be in prison. Like, there's no reason you should be out and about.
All right, so let's go through some of the things that we can go through here in the spoiler-free section. We have a cast, of course. Bruce Willis headlining, Ben Affleck in the sort of next roll down as our 2 leads. But we have a pretty ensemble cast here, as a lot of disaster movies do. We got Billy Bob Thornton as the guy from NASA who's somewhat in charge. We have Liv Tyler as Bruce Willis's daughter, and also the love interest of Ben Affleck. That's obviously a major plot point in the movie. Will Patton's one of those actors that pops up a lot from the 90s all the way up until now. The last time I saw him was in those modern Halloween movies. He's like the sheriff in Haddonfield in those. We mentioned Steve Buscemi, of course. He's here.
Yep. He starts out the movie as a horn dog, and then like a third of the way through, they say, okay, but there's no other women in space. So now he's just really, really smart.
Yes, and also this falls a little bit into the camp of evolution, where there's a couple of just casual jokes about him saying things like, she never told me her age, I swear. Like, that was a running joke across movies, apparently, in the late 90s, early 2000s that were supposed to be funny.
Yeah, you know, late 90s, where barely legal was a punchline, I guess.
So you got that going on with his character. William Fichtner is one of the pilots. Like I said, he's a character actor that pops up a lot.
He's playing everything I've seen William Fichtner in. Like, yes. he's got his role that he's nailed down, and that's who he is.
And he's good at that shtick, to be fair, typically. Although every so often, some of the lines that he has to deliver in this don't do him any favors, but that's... You
were saying there's a line in the last 3 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
He gives my all-time favorite, probably like half an hour before the end.
We have Owen Wilson as one of the crewmen as well.
He's there.
That's exactly what I was going to say. He's there. Yep. Michael Clark Duncan, who at least stands out because obviously he's got a very specific look to him. He's a big guy, so that's cool. Peter Stormare's in there.
Yeah, I would say Michael Clark Duncan, if this were made 20 years later, he would absolutely be played by, I'm blanking on his name now, from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, Terry Crews?
Yeah, Terry Crews, that's it. I had Terry in my head, but for some reason that's the last name.
Yeah. I wasn't sure where you were going with that. I was about to jump in and say, well, he'd be dead because he died.
Yes. Yeah. If this were 20 years later, it'd just be a skeleton propped up on some cardboard.
I mean, I don't like him as an actor, though. Obviously, again, none of the actors here have great roles to play. But like I said, Peter Stormare's in here as well, doing just a thick, I am a Russian, welcome to my Russian satellite, or space station.
Do not touch of my things that are Russian, because they are mine.
Yes. Keith David's in here, is kind of like the advisor to the president, or whatever the specific role is. I don't know if they actually point out what his actual title is. Yeah.
He's just like a military liaison between NASA and the president.
Jason Isaacs is in there as a scientist at NASA, looking quite young actually, because I'm so used to him being like 50, but here he's like 30 or something like that. So,
and again, it's one of those roles where like they set him up of like, oh, he's going to be core, he's going to be central to all this, and then like 20 minutes in, oh, there he goes, never to be seen again.
Also, wild little role, but there's a woman that Buscemi's chatting up in a bar at one point early on, and that's Shawnee Smith that he's chatting up. I thought that was like just a little weird, like, oh, I know who that is.
Right, fair enough.
Yeah, and she had already been in some stuff before now. I mean, she sort of, I guess, resurged a little bit because of Saw, and she was in Becker, probably around this same time, actually. But she was in the 88 version of The Blob, you know, so she'd been in stuff.
Yeah. Maybe she had a bigger role and they just cut it down.
Maybe, I guess. I don't know. But regardless, we have a big ensemble. So many characters, so little to do. What's so funny is that there's one other guy from like the crew, like from the mining crew, who are also on the team, but I never learned his name. And he's just like, I was like, I don't remember this guy in this movie. And at no point in this film does he ever like give me a reason to remember him again. Like he clearly is forgettable for a reason because he never has anything meaningful to do.
No, you're right. I noticed the one scene where they said his name. His name was Freddy, And for the life of me, I cannot find him in the entire IMDb cast list.
Is it possible that he's credited here with his other name? So it's like Freddy Gruber?
It's not Gruber, because Gruber's specifically one of the military guys.
Okay, fair enough.
He's one of the people that's like with the military. Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, Gruber, he must be that guy that I remember from the beginning. But no, he's another faceless, nameless blob that is in this movie.
Yes. Trevor Rabin does the music, and the music's all right. I think it does its job well enough. He's kind of like Hans Zimmer was busy, but Trevor Rabin's your step down, who does similar kind of music, and he's fine.
I feel like that's an insult to Hans Zimmer, but yeah, he's okay. I feel like because of the way the movie is, I kind of just get sick of his inspirational score by the time that we hit the end. Like I want it to stop.
I don't think that's his fault. I think he's told to keep pumping inspirational into it, so he has to keep pumping inspirational into it. Because he did like Deep Blue Sea, I think, and a couple other movies, and those were perfectly fine scores.
Yeah.
So I think this is just a case of like he's been told to ramp everything up to 11, just like the editing constantly. So
yeah.
Here
by
we
the
are.
way, I did find the name of the guy. It's his other name that he is on here by is Noonan, and he's credited just beneath Gruber. He's Clark Heathcliff Brawley.
Oh, would you look at that? He doesn't have a photo on IMDb.
What a shock.
Everyone else does on the main page.
This was his last credit.
All right. Now, that does reek of maybe a couple of deleted segments, because he does, like, they have montages when all the guys are separated doing different things and we see what they're all up to. It never cuts to him. We never see what he's up to.
Look, without spoiling too much, the exact midway of this movie, there's an action scene. I just assume that if there's a character I don't see again, they left in that action scene. Like they died there, because that action scene may as well have just been a kaleidoscope of fire and twirling colors.
It was hard to pay attention to at certain points. I was just kind of like numb by it by a certain point. Anyway, as for anything else and spoiler free, I mean, it's overly flashy flashy's fine, and obviously you want a nice cinematic shot, and occasionally there's a shot in a vacuum, no pun intended because we're out of space, but in a vacuum there's the occasional shot where I'm like, oh, that is a good shot idea for this one shot. The problem is that every single shot Michael Bay does has to be every single one has to be flashy, so it loses its meaning after a point and just becomes kind of silly. There's no downtime, there's no room to breathe for any of the plot or the characters. Everything's just breakneck speed, but at the same time, because there's all these extra action sequences that don't need to be there, it stretches out to 2.5 hours. No,
there's the like I said, there's every single time that there's a shot, either something is moving in the shot and it has the breakneck frenetic pace there, or there's one way towards the beginning where Liv Tyler is sitting in a chair. She's not moving, and the camera has to move past her, not in like a slow panning shot way, but in a frenetic energy, like, okay, the rest of the scene is tense and action, we got to keep that up, and she's just sitting there, and it's like, why do we have to do this all the time?
Yeah, and then to make matters worse, it probably cut after like 1.5 seconds as well, so you have to process too much visual stimulation, so you're distracted from what's actually going on in the scene to a certain point.
And then I'll also throw out there, as much as the editing is a problem within its own right, I think just the general pacing, the general script, it takes way too long to get to them going into space. And then when they're in space, I feel like we're focusing on all the most boring aspects of it.
I mean, I could get behind them taking the same amount of time to get to space if there was a compelling story where it felt they were actually learning something that was going to come up later in the movie. It's like, oh, hey, this is presenting the obstacles they're going to face and how they're bad at them, so when they come up they have to overcome the odds in the second half. But that's not what the movie does. The movie has you yelling and whatever else. So
also, I'd be remiss if I don't point this out later on when it comes out, because of course they spend 2 weeks with nobody knowing about the meteor because it would cause panic or whatever. But when it comes out, we start seeing people around the world are all aware of this mission. And I feel like the images that Michael Bay is choosing to show are just deeply racist, but not because it feels like he's intentionally trying to be racist with it, but it's because when there's the comparison point of what does he show for America, it is literally shit that I have not seen since the 1950s. Like, someone has an old ass radio. There's a boy running out of a farmhouse in just suspenders through a field of hay. I'm not sure why he thinks that that's what America is, but he does. And then when it shows other countries, it's like, oh, we're going to show the Irish people. What are they doing? Oh, well, they're coming out of a Catholic church and they're marching their way up the hills of Ireland. It's like, oh, what are these people in India doing? Oh, well, they're all sitting outside the Taj Mahal because that's what Indian people do.
Yes. I mean, let's face it. I mean, Michael Bay also not known for being sensitive to
what
representation, shall we say, in his movies. Go check out Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen for a crash course on that, if you like.
There's a reason I've been putting that. I have not done that on the Ace yet, and there's a reason why I don't want to go back to it.
I do love that eventually there's going to be another live-action Transformers movie that we're going to be doing on the Ace, and when that's happening, you're going to have to homework all of them.
I'm going to have to marathon them, yeah.
That's good. It's so good. Because I don't have to watch them again, but you do.
Yeah. Wow. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to painfully describe every minute just to make you relive it.
All right, we'll get into the spoilers then for Armageddon. Full spoilers, henceforth, we shall commence. So the movie starts out, and obviously the CG in this movie it kind of varies a little bit depending on what it's doing. Like, sometimes it's like, oh, hey, this is really, really good for 1998. And then other times you're like, oh, I can really see kind of the age of the CG. It kind of just depends what's on screen at any given time.
Right.
But the opening titles, in which the name Armageddon explodes at us, which, if you wanted to show the difference between this and Deep Impact, you just look at how the titles are presented. Deep Impact, it comes up tastefully, right? It does whatever. Armageddon, it's on fire, and then it explodes into the camera.
And it doesn't even give you a minute. It's not even a thing where it's like, okay, well, let's get to know the Earth. What are we doing here? What do we before we even have the first strike at Earth in modern day, we have to watch the meteor that killed the dinosaurs 65 million years ago.
I need to point this out. So it starts off with narration. I think it's Billy Bob Thornton who's doing the narration.
Okay. I can tell.
Right. And there's a shot of the Earth, and it's like, oh, there was an asteroid 6 miles wide that killed all the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. It's happened before, and it will happen again. It's really ominous. And I'm like, this is reminding me of something. What's this reminding me of here? And I was putting my brain together, I was like, what other movie have I seen that starts off with, in the time of the dinosaurs, there was an asteroid, and goodbye dinosaurs. That was the opening of Super Mario Brothers.
It was. It was.
That's what it made me think of.
You're not wrong. I mean, it is pretty spot on. It's almost. I wonder if you could replace one with the other and see if anybody notices.
I mean, obviously, there's no cartoon dinosaurs in this one, but I mean, they could have put them in.
If I started a Michael Bay movie with cartoon dinosaurs and I told you this is what he did, would you really think that's outside the realm of what Michael Bay would do?
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah. So here's the thing. NASA in this movie are apparently so incompetent that they are unable to predict anything coming towards Earth until it's 10 minutes away. It's basically the vibe I get from this, because there's it's almost like the start of Gravity, actually, where there's just a guy working on a satellite or something, like an astronaut, and then debris starts coming in from this little meteor shower that's coming, and it completely decimates the guy and whatever, and it's going down, and we cut to NASA and they're talking about it. And it's going towards New York, and that's where we get our first big sequence. We get the dog walker. The dog starts chewing on some Godzilla toys, which I don't know if that was meant to be a weird meta thing, because the 98 Godzilla movie came out the same year.
No, it was absolutely one of the things where it was I don't think that they realized that Deep Impact was happening when they wrote that joke, but Godzilla, I guarantee you they wrote that in because it was at the beginning of the summer and this one came at the end, and they were like, this movie's gonna completely trash Godzilla. Look, tiny little Godzilla getting eaten by a little yappy dog. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, ironically, this movie has a more accurate looking Godzilla than the 98 American Godzilla movie does.
They wouldn't be allowed to use the actual 98 Godzilla, so yeah, they default to what they have.
But anyway, so yeah, there's a whole thing here, and then like so the guy who was selling these toys gets into a fight with the dog walker, and then the first meteor that hits him like basically on the head. Like you don't see that obviously, you just see it go down and like go through the ground where he's standing, and then we see like the big effects, and this was a lot more destructive than I remembered it being. Like we see Grand Central Station get decimated, we see you know the top of the Empire State Building. Not only does the top of the Empire State Building come down, you see a person falling from it and like basically hit the camera on its way down. Like this, like when people talk about disaster porn, this sequence is disaster porn.
Look, we talked about this before in a previous review. I was very worried seeing the skyline and seeing the Twin Towers, and I was like, how far, where are these meteors going to hit? I need to know right now.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the final shot of the city, I actually think, like, was uncomfortable, because the final shot of the city shows one of those towers on fire, as if, like, a meteor's, like, you know, hit the top of it. And I'm like, this is insane that 3 years before 9/11, like, this visual was in a movie. Because, like, we keep obviously bringing this up because these movies love to attack New York. Like, the last two we have done have both had something happen to New York. I won't get into spoilers, but stuff's happened there in every single one of these Meteor movies.
Yep.
But this one, partly because it's newer and it's maybe a bit closer in terms of, like, the actual visual of what ended up happening. But this one struck me visually as more, this is more, like, eerie, because it's really close to what the actual visual was on that day. So no, what got me was dog walker guy. They show him, I guess, escaping, or maybe he just gets hit by something else, but when they show him later on, like, his face is covered in ash and soot, like, it's very pale, and I'm like, that's a very uncomfortable, like, you're accurate, good job, you did it, but I only know it's accurate because of very uncomfortable imagery that I've seen otherwise. Yeah, and to be fair, like, obviously everything we're talking about in this little segment is not like anything the movie's doing wrong. No. This is just complete happenstance because of what happened in the world a couple of years later. But just weird to go back now. It's very true though that like disaster movies after that happened started being like, we're maybe going to do less like buildings on fire. We're going to focus on like the cold coming after us, and we'll see a bit of that later on this season.
Well, it's that, and then like you get, even with Michael Bay, Transformers, you still have the fight in New York, but it's in a different section of New York, and we don't go anywhere near that area.
No, they're not in New York in Transformers.
Are they not? I could have sworn they were. Where's the climax of Transformers at?
Oh, it's like a fictional city, because they call it something weird.
Okay.
Oh, I can't remember what they call it, but because they definitely say, we're almost at whatever city, and it's almost like a DC Comics style city where it's just like a generic name.
Okay.
And you're like, okay.
Well, it looks a lot like New York.
Oh, sure, yeah. It's in the ballpark for sure, but no. They're in real cities and movies after that. I don't know if they're ever in New York, actually. They go to various places. One might be Chicago, one might be wherever, I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. So yeah, there's a bunch of destruction, a bunch of stuff going on here in this sequence. And I think what gets me is that literally just as it's wrapping up, Billy Bob Thornton's on the phone to like the president or someone, and he's like, oh no, that meteor shower was nothing, don't worry about that. There's a big asteroid coming that's going to kill us. And I'm like, wait, so that's got nothing to do? Now later on, they do explain that the meteor showers are happening because the asteroid hit like the belt, and like that's where all these extra meteors are coming from. But it's just funny to me that he's like, oh no, this is nothing. That's nothing to do with what the movie's about. This was just for an action sequence. Don't worry about it.
Oh yeah. Look, we lost like 4.6 billion off our GDP just now with New York being decimated. But like, whatever. Who cares? Doesn't matter.
And on this subject, just since we're on the subject of some of the destruction on Earth, the other big example in the third act is a fairly large meteor hits the middle of Paris, and it just straight up looks like the entirety of the city is destroyed. Like there's like a shock wave of like debris coming up from the ground, and I'm like, oh, so literally millions and millions of people just died in France.
No, that's look, if we're just skipping ahead here, this is the bit that gets me. Like, there's one that also hits somewhere in Asia, some like Southeast Middle Asia.
Yeah, but they cut away so quick, you don't even get to see what's happened to it.
Yeah, you don't get anything else. But like, what gets me is like, okay, New York was hit, Paris was hit, all this stuff. They blow up the meteor at the end, and then they just say, oh, and then all the other ones got burned up or whatever. It's like, no, you would make things just so much worse. You're going to have all these like mid-sized sedans crashing into cities.
I love how it's always major cities that keep getting hit. Like, it's never just a field in the middle of Oklahoma that gets hit with a meteor.
See, that's why I kind of like Deep Impact, though, because Deep Impact, one of the very early ones, is just random in the middle. Or no, it's not Deep Impact. It's Meteor, where random middle of nowhere, like Siberia, gets hit first. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, okay, this is just random selections off the globe, whatever.
Yeah, it's the major landmark cities where we recognize half the buildings. That's where the meteors are always going to hit.
I was fully waiting for the Paris one for a meteor to directly hit the Eiffel Tower, and I'm like, wow, what great aim there. God must be just angry with our hubris if he's taken out these monuments directly.
The biggest problem I had, obviously, it's like, okay, this is total disaster porn. The entire city is destroyed, but they cut to Paris for a split second afterwards, and like the arc is still like sort of kind of sitting there, like mostly intact. And I'm like, no, the entire city was decimated.
Yeah. No, the ground lifted up a good 200 feet and got set back down.
You're not telling me that the craftsmanship of that thing was powerful enough to withstand this shockwave. No. Not a chance.
But if it was American.
Anyway. So, like, yeah, it's probably a good, like, 15, 20 minutes before we even cut to, like, the Bruce Willis and other characters from his camp, because we're cutting around NASA, scientists talking about the size of the asteroid, all this stuff.
Every single scientist is basically, they're just all saying like, okay, we got to come up with plans. How do we deal with this stuff? And then we cut over and we keep intercutting back and forth between NASA as they basically come to the conclusion of, we got to drill into it. Who could possibly drill into this giant space rock?
Yeah, and this is also where at one point, because a guy runs into the room with papers in his hand, he's like, 18 days. We've only got 18 days till it gets here. And I'm like, how did, like, I like, look, I'm not saying the other movies are accurate, right? But the other movies, because they always say it's like months or a year at least away, if not years, I feel like that's probably closer to the truth. Just right, and the one justification they get in the movie is Billy Bob Thornton says NASA's only got the budget to monitor 3% of the sky, and it's a pretty big sky. And I'm like, that sounds so made up. I'm
just gonna go ahead and throw out the idea here. I mean, it's just random other things here. NASA's not the only people looking at the goddamn sky. Maybe, just maybe, I don't know, any of the other observatories around the world might have caught a glimpse of this at any point. This
idea that NASA's only looking at the same 3% of like directions like all the time is just absurd to me. I don't know.
And to double down on this, they didn't find it. Random Joe Schmo in his observatory who yells at his wife found it. NASA didn't do shit.
Yeah, Dottie's husband found it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh dear. So they're
do they ever call the meteor Dottie? Like they have that joke, but do they ever actually say it?
They do. I think they say a couple times in the third act where they're saying, "Oh, Dottie's like
okay,
an hour away or something like that." Yeah.
I must have just been yelling at the screen at that point.
That's very entirely understandable and possible. Yeah. So they set this up, and we cut to Bruce Willis, and he's doing the whole golf thing that I mentioned, where he's trying to hit protesters, and he's just cracking jokes. And his best friend is Chick, played by Will Patton, and they're sort of the confidants with each other, as clearly he's the one he's closest to. But he's informed that one of the drills was running too long or something the night before, and that this was Ben Affleck's fault. So he gets pissed and goes looking for Ben Affleck, and because they're all it's an oil rig, right? So they're all staying here. They've all got their bunks and whatnot. And he finds Ben Affleck's room, and he confronts him, and Ben Affleck's really apologetic. And clearly there's someone trying to hide under the covers. We see like toes sneak under the bed sheets. And
Steve Buscemi.
So Bruce Willis is like, wait, you're being too apologetic. This doesn't make any sense. What you try to hide? And he finds a bra. He's like, what's going on? And then it's revealed that Liv Tyler's on the bed. And it's revealed that this is his daughter, and he's very pissed. So he leaves. He says he's going to be back or whatever. And this whole segment is Bruce Willis, who's supposed to be our hero, has grabbed a shotgun, and he is not only just aiming it at Ben Affleck, he is firing it at Ben Affleck as Ben Affleck runs around an oil rig. First of all, I don't know if firing guns around an oil rig sounds like the smartest move I've ever thought of.
it would spoil the line, but there's a line towards the end of Fight Club that I just think of whenever I see that. Like, it's very much that. Because, yeah, no, it's everything. I think one character even says, like, hey, man, what you're doing is illegal. He's like, whatever, I've got temporary insanity. It's all good. And I'm like, no, it's illegal because you're going to kill everybody aboard this rig.
Yeah, and I think at the end of it, they try and make it clear that he was never actually aiming it at him. He was always just aiming it near him to scare the shit out of him, right? Because eventually, like, one ricochets and actually hits him in the leg a little bit, and he's like, ow! And he's like, it's just a ricochet, you'll be fine. I was never going to hit you. And it's like, oh, but you're a psychopath. Like, yeah. Our main character, and this is very Michael Bay humor again, is an absolute psychopath when you actually consider what he's doing here in this sequence. He's being, they're doing the overprotective father bit, I'll kill you for touching my daughter, which is, you know, a trope in and of itself, and it's whatever it is. But, you know, you've got him, you've got Steve Buscemi, who, when the military shows up to find Bruce Willis, say, hey, you're the best driller in the world, we need you to come with us right now, we can't tell you why. Buscemi assumes they're there for him, and leans in and says, she never told me her age. Tell them that. And then it's like, no, they're here for me. Oh, never mind then. And he goes back and slinks away. And I'm like, okay, so we have a pervert, a psychopath so far. And I mean, this list is only going to get more weird as we go on, as we learn more about these characters, frankly. But that's the ones that are set up front.
There's a line, once they all show up, and we'll get there, there's a line from Keith David who basically says, like, half of these people have a rap sheet and most of them are felonies. Like, there is no reason that these people should be trusted with anything.
Although he does use a word, a slur that we're not supposed to use anymore to describe them. Correct. Begins with R, just in case anyone's looking for it. But it was just a time when it was thrown around a bit more willy-nilly. So
yeah. Although, to be fair, I'm pretty sure even if it weren't, Michael Bay would still go 5 years too long. He'd be like, no, I can still say that.
I don't think Michael Bay would hesitate, but I mean, I do remember it getting thrown around at school a lot back in that time.
Well, you're saying schoolboy-age kids are like Michael Bay's bread and butter? I never would have guessed.
Because there's a whole thing here where, like, Bruce Willis is trying to argue with his daughter after the Ben Affleck sort of chase, and she works at the company too, but she like speaks Mandarin or whatever it is, and she's talking to these investors.
She's like the office person. She's the person who actually like knows the books or whatever.
But she's it's cool. She's very educated. She's very smart. She's talking to these people, but they're having this fight in front of them in English that they can't understand, and they're I'm actually shocked there wasn't a joke where at the end of the scene it cut to them and they started speaking, but we got subtitles to show that they understood everything that they were saying. Like, this is really unprofessional. Them having this father-daughter spat whilst they're supposed to be showing us around their oil rig that we're paying for, but
that would be just a bit too much Austin Powers, I think.
Yeah, but and there's even a bit here where she's arguing with her dad, and she says, "Hey, you've dragged me around oil rig to oil rig my whole life, and I'm surrounded by nothing but guys. When I got my first period, right? And then what was the name of Steve Buscemi's character? Rockhound. Rockhound had to take me to the city that we were close to get me tampons, and he had to show me how to use them." And Bruce Willis turns and looks at him like, wait a minute, were you getting intimate with my daughter?
Were you improper?
And he's like, I told her how to use them, not show them. But the mere fact that he is concerned, and we've already established by this point, I think, that he's a pervert, so he's got every reason but even though later on they try and sell us this idea that no, all this crew are like fathers to her because she's grown up with all of them except Ben Affleck because he's around her age. But like, although it's funny though that Bruce Willis argues in this scene that no, you didn't fall for Ben Affleck because he's the right choice. You fell for him because he's the only choice. He's the only guy here in your age range. However, later on in the movie, Owen Wilson makes a point about how Liv Tyler's going to, she's exploring her sexuality. It's a healthy thing. And Bruce Willis turns to him and says, you're like 2 minutes older than her. What the hell are you talking about? And I'm like, so why wasn't Owen Wilson an option then? Eh, Bruce?
I'll tell you why. He's not a goddamn character. He's here, but he's not a character.
Yeah, he's just Owen Wilson. He has nothing else going on. Yeah.
He literally walks outside, looks up like, oh, wow, that's a big rock up there. Wow.
That's it. That's his entire thing.
Yep.
He's mildly shocked the whole time. So anyway, they fly him out to NASA. They explain to him what's going on. Him and his daughter are like, oh no, oh, this is terrible news. And they show him that they've basically copied his drill design and he needs to train the astronauts how to use it. But he points out every failure, everything they've got wrong, and he says like, "Hey, look, I'll help, but it needs to be my men up there. I've been doing this for 30 years. You can't just train someone how to drill." And I'm like, this is 18 days. You've got to train these people to go to space. Are you kidding me?
I would have been fine with this sequence because I'm willing to suspend disbelief. That's part of the movie-going experience. If you need to make some little contrivances in order to get the movie going, I'm fine with it. But you need to show me that you're at least putting in the effort to explain away the contrivance. He literally walks into the room, says, these guys are losers. They're never going to be able to learn how to drill. So I'm going to go up and I'm going to take my men instead. And rather than having Keith David there, who would instead say, that's stupid, idiotic, and I'm never going to do that, they have Billy Bob Thornton, who says, yeah, okay.
Yeah, man.
No pushback. Nothing else. He's just like, absolutely. You guys are fired. We're bringing in these guys.
So we get like a funny, and I'm using that quotes around funny here, montage of them collecting everyone else. Michael Clark Duncan's like on the highway in his motorbike, just running away because he thinks the police are chasing him, but it's just the military trying to get him to come out of NASA. The chubby guy, who we've not even mentioned yet, I don't think, but he's getting a tattoo, a mama tattoo, sure.
Why not?
That's his thing. Steve Buscemi's chatting up Shawnee Smith. Like, so they're all doing their own thing, right? Mm-hmm. The big thing, though, that I want to bring up here is that it's like, hey, there's only one guy who's good enough to... Because they have to do this in 2 crews, right? So they have 2 drills. And there's only one guy who's qualified to do the other one. And unfortunately for Bruce Willis, it's Ben Affleck. So he goes to Ben Affleck. And I want to point out that before they even went and got Bruce Willis, we were already at 18 days till this thing hits Earth. So we're in a very narrow window of time. Bruce Willis goes to Ben Affleck, and there was already like a little exchange between them in the opening with their characters where when Ben Affleck's trying to justify why he made a choice, Bruce Willis is like, hey, maybe one day you'll own your own drilling company like I do now, and then you can make your decisions. But this is my company, it's my name on the damn thing, so blah, 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 you do what I say. Yeah. Bruce Willis goes to him here to recruit him, and Ben Affleck seems to have his own place. He's got a sign up saying his name's like oil drilling. And he's like, hey, Bruce, it's great that I'm here. It's great that about having your own places. I can make my own decisions. And I'm like, it's been 12 hours. What are you talking about? Has it even been a full day?
Not only does he have his own sign, the sign is weathered and rusted already. Like he printed a sign on top of another sign just to be able to save some money, I guess. But no, I had the exact same thought. The moment that it showed that, I'm like, okay, so when we come back here, you need to say there's 1 day left. Because I'm going to assume permits and licensing and stuff is going to take at least 2 weeks. There's no way around that.
Yeah, well, even just everyone being scattered, because Bruce Willis says, hey, whenever they get off the oil rig, they always sort of scatter to their different locations. You know, Chick goes and does gambling, which I guess that's the hint of like why he fell out with his wife or whatever, is that he had a gambling problem, but they never really go into it, to be honest.
No, there's no other character outside of our main 3, Liv Tyler, Ben Affleck, and Bruce Willis. They're the only ones who get any sort of real evolution or real payoff. Everyone else is lip service at best.
Yeah, comic relief maybe, but that's about it. But even just the idea that they've all spread out and they're literally in different countries, some of them, at this point, and I'm like, but it's been a day. You were all in the oil rig working 24 hours ago. Like, was the job just done at that point and you all left and you all just got to these locations? It feels like half of them should still be like waiting to leave the rig or something, even if they were stopping right then.
Yeah. No, I honestly have no solution for this because it's weird because it feels like earlier scenes were supposed to be this thing of like, oh, we have 2 months. Oh, we have like just some longer period of time in order to give them time to go off and do this stuff. And it would also make more sense with the way too long training montage that we get. But then over the course of multiple scenes, we get that 18 days. And it's said like on camera, their mouths are moving. So it's not something where it's just 80 yard in after. I have no solution as to how this happened.
Especially since it would make more sense if they bring in Bruce Willis first to try and train the astronauts and even consider sending him up with them as the advisor or the one in charge of the drilling itself, and then the astronauts can take care of everything else. That'd be fine. But maybe because they've got months rather than just 18 days, they spend like a month with him trying to train the astronauts, and he, over that month, is like this isn't going to work for this reason or that reason. Like, I need more actual drillers up there. with me. It can't just be me. There needs to be at least 3 drill experts with different positions on each drill or something. You know, so give me something tangible that makes sense. And by that point, it would make sense if they've been doing this for a month. Oh, everyone's scattered. They're all over the place. They've all, went back home or whatever.
Yeah. No, I mean, just to comment on what you said there, the way you do it, because this is basically why they win with the whole plot in the first place, is you need to not listen to what the computers are saying. You need to not listen to like the official orders. You got to go with your gut. And that's something you can't just be taught. You have to just have it over time.
Yes, although they never really give me a compelling reason why they should follow their gut, to be honest. All they ever show is Ben Affleck failing the simulator. And it's like, and he just sounds like a stubborn asshole when he refuses to listen to it's not even just like the computer. He just doesn't listen to Bruce Willis giving him a direct order. And it's like, yeah, this is kind of a problem that you're not giving me a reason to really root for this guy, other than he's just the guy that Liv Tyler likes. Like, that's really the only thing he's got going for him. Really.
Absolutely. And the other half of that is, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe you felt differently, but I think there's absolutely no good explanation for the audience, like just bare basic terms of understanding the lingo, of understanding like all the drill stuff going on. It may as well be magic. They're going in there and they just keep on yelling at each other like, oh, you're going to break the compressor. And it's like, all right, well, that sounds bad. I'm assuming that's not a good thing. They
talk about a number of drill heads and a number of suppressors, and when one goes, they have to replace it, but they only have one left. Or at least they say a couple things here or there. It would have been really nice to get a demonstration, maybe like on the oil rig itself, like show them go through the process of, oh shit, we've lost a suppressor and this is why it needs to be put in, or some basic understanding to, because that's the other problem when we get to the back half of the movie. Is that they say, oh, we're barely getting through anything, we're only 50 feet in, and we need to get to 800, blah, blah, blah. But then, like, 2 minutes later, they just casually say, yeah, we're at 650. I'm like, whoa, where did that time pass? Like, I have not felt a lick of that time.
Nah, that's just Ben Affleck. He just comes in and immediately the hole's just 700 feet deeper.
He just lies down and gets a hard on, and it's just, there you go.
No, that's Steve Buscemi. He would absolutely do that in this movie.
That's Deep Impact.
There it is.
Anyway, so, which actually there's an enema joke where someone says we're only here to drill, and like the lady's like, oh, so am I, and she holds up like a big silver
big metal rod.
And Chick gets really scared by that. But yeah, so they collect everyone in, he explains it to them, and I feel like, a better movie would have a really good scene here where they kind of all like eventually agree to go on this mission. Instead, everyone just kind of almost immediately says, yes, what the hell, let's go for it. Like, do we get anything out of this? Which all just leads to a comedy scene where Bruce Willis is explaining their demands to Billy Bob Thornton and the General, where it's like, oh, can you tell us who really shot Kennedy? Okay, it doesn't matter.
It feels like an improv scene.
It does.
I probably wasn't, but I feel like he stood there for at least like 5 minutes just listing off random things, and they picked the best ones.
Yeah, I can't remember what some of the stupid ones were, and then it ended with also they never want to pay taxes again, ever.
Sure.
I was like,
okay,
yeah, fine.
Look, it was somewhere around that bit there where I was like already losing like the will to continue on with this, because it just felt like it was dragging so much. And then we immediately go into the training montage, getting them fit, getting them ready, which goes on for like 45 minutes, and I just can't.
Yeah, it felt like that anyway. I don't know if it actually was that long, but it felt like it was going on for a long time. Them doing the simulators, flying in jets to get used to the G-force and all the physical sides of things. Honestly, the next thing that's really prominent that I remember is like when Bruce Willis comes out and says, hey, give them tomorrow night off, give them one night to go be humans with their families and remember what they're trying to save, yada, yada, yada. So that leads to, one, very few of them actually go home to a family. Funnily enough, Will Patton's like the only one who kind of does, but he's estranged with his wife and he's not really seen his son since he was a baby. And they set up that the wife doesn't want him around, and he's just like, oh, I got something big coming up, just give the boy this. Don't even tell him who it's from, and he gives her a little space shuttle toy to give to him. So it's like, okay, I guess that's like his one character thing, is that he's going to win the respect of his wife.
It like barely pays off, if you can even call it that. It's just a little thing so that you have this connection to the character and you want to see him live, which fair. That's like all disaster movies give that for most of their ensemble. They try to give you that one little thing to attach to, but here it just feels so like I don't know, it feels like there was nothing to preamble this, and we're already so deep into the movie that it feels weird to put it in there now.
Steve Buscemi goes to a loan shark because he thinks he's not coming back. He thinks they're all going to die. So he's like, give me $100,000 and I'll pay it back with a silly high,
60% interest.
Yeah. He's like, oh, you sure this is all right? He's like, I'm no less dead than you're going to be. Which,
wink.
Yeah. And he takes, and some of the guys just go with him to a strip club, and he makes a friend with a stripper that he gives a lot of money to.
Yep.
Pardon me. Which, and apparently so much so that she's with him at the end. Like, she shows up to welcome him back and kiss him and whatnot. So he's got his stripper lady friend. And
if there's anyone who needed the end of a plot line, it's Steve Buscemi's character.
Also, they do a thing here where some guys get angry that the astronauts and, well, the drillers.
The drillers, yes.
Who are going to be kind of acting as astronauts, that they're hogging all the strippers, and it gets them into a fight, and it cuts to like them all getting arrested for being like a bar fight. And Steve Buscemi's shouting, supposedly funny lines about how, this is national security, you're in deep shit, you're going to lose your job, blah, blah. And I thought, at the very least, if you're doing this sequence where they all get into trouble, that either, at the very least, you'd have a scene where Billy Bob Thornton and some generals have to come down and bail them out, and they get scolded for acting like idiots, or possibly that this would give the general a reason to say, no, these three aren't going because they just went out and got arrested, like they're clearly not trustworthy. Some sort of consequence to the fact that on their one night off they get into serious trouble.
I'd be fine with any of that, P. I'd be fine with seeing anything, but I'm also fine with the runtime being lower, so by all means, cut whatever you'd like. There's one sequence I do want to bring up. It's not even a sequence so much as just the pacing that threw me off, is during the training montage, before they have their night off, they do a whole bunch of training. They specifically go through and say, like, a bunch of oil drillers all think that the one female astronaut is hot, and then she shows them that she's fully capable of kicking their asses, so they respect her. And they do, like, underwater stuff and whatever.
Which would have been nice, by the way, if she actually had a character, but that's like that's the most she ever gets in the entire movie.
I genuinely thought for a moment that her name was Gruber, because I wasn't sure who the hell Gruber was. Anyway, they then specifically pause all the training stuff, and they say, okay, we're running low on time here. We got like 7 days left or whatever. They show Billy Bob Thornton showing the plan and explaining it for the audience at the same time. Then they take the time to show that Bruce Willis sees Grace, his daughter, and AJ, Ben Affleck, cuddled up together and like doing whatever.
He proposes in that scene as well.
He proposes. He does that at that moment. And then they do more training. Like that's what threw me off the most there. It's like, no, you've done the bit. Now you go into the last day, the like night beforehand. You don't do 3 more days of training.
So on their day off, I don't even know if we see what Bruce Willis does on his day off. Did we even see what he does? I think he does anything.
No, I think he just hangs out at NASA.
But Ben Affleck takes Liv Tyler out for like a picnic by a tree. Aerosmith starts playing, and we get the legendary animal crackers going up and down her body, and like north to the peaks of the boobs, or south to
the
her vagina.
Grasslands.
The grasslands. And it's just, like, it's whatever. It's meant to be cutesy.
Look, I have, like, the scene itself is dumb. It is absolutely, like, the worst version of flirting I've seen outside of Star Wars Episode 2. Like, it is garbage.
It is better than that, though. It is better than Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Absolutely. However, the bit that sent me, the bit that I was like, shut the hell up, is Liv Tyler, after all that, laying back and going, do you think anyone else is doing what we're doing the exact same at this exact moment? And I think, no, Liv, no one else is having a philosophical debate about animal crackers, you dumb bitch. Like, I'm just so fed up with this movie at this point.
And of course, Ben Affleck says, of course so. I hope so.
Yeah, totally. There's 3 other couples over there with their animal crackers. Cue the Aerosmith.
Yes. Animal crackers are also like not a thing in the UK. So I associate animal crackers specifically with this scene and only this scene.
That's fair. That's how I associate Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Like, it's just this. I'm like, I'm just angry now.
So, yeah, that's going on. There's a couple of other little scenes sprinkled in here. Like, Bruce Willis and Liv have a heart-to-heart underneath like the Apollo 1 launch pad, where she's like, you know, I love you, Dad. Promise me you'll come back. And he's like, I promise. And she's like, bring back my fiancé. And he's like, is that how you're engaged? I hate this. This is terrible. But yeah, that's what they're setting up there. So
no, that's pretty much it. And they have this. Honest to God, I didn't even remember the sequence. They have this bit where, as they're walking out, like not actually walking out, but they're in the hangar, they just have a whole musical bit where everyone just sings this song about how, like, I don't even recognize the song, but everyone's just having this last little hurrah singing together. I didn't remember this at all. No,
the song's I'm leaving on a jet plane, don't know when I'll be back. Yeah, that's a well-known song. It's not like a...
Okay. I don't think I've ever heard it. It's not Aerosmith, so...
No, it's not Aerosmith. That's true. I don't know who it is, but it is a famous song. Yeah, basically he's saying that to Liv Tyler, and then like, everyone else kind of joins in somewhat.
And then somewhere in the middle of all this, I think it was when the Asia gets decimated, was when the world learns about the meteor. So they're being shoved off into the rockets as heroes, and they're being told like, oh yes, these brave astronauts are going into space.
Yeah, we're walking in slow motion as music plays, as we're taking off in 2 space shuttles. And the whole plan, of course, is to dock at a Russian space station, which will refuel them up there. And then that's when they fly to slingshot around the moon onto the asteroid. And like, okay. I mean, the slingshot, and honestly, part of it like doesn't even really like. If they hadn't told me that, I wouldn't have really made a difference. I was like, oh, they're just flying to the asteroid from there. It doesn't really matter. But of course, I think the space station segment though is the point where I'm like, oh, this movie is just mind-numbingly stupid and just forcing extra action for the sake of action. One, like Peter Stormare is a pretty solid character actor, but he is just playing up the Russian stereotypes here so much that there's nothing to really get out of him. And it's like, as soon as they get into the space station, it's like maybe 30 seconds until the chain of events that leads to an explosion and a fireball and everyone having to rush back to the space shuttles to escape in the nick of time. Like, we have to have this breakneck, we're almost all died sequence just for the sake of it. Because it's the middle of the movie, we have to have an action sequence.
It's not even 30 seconds, because there's the bit where like Stormare brings Ben Affleck down and he's like, all right, we're refueling the stuff. Is you thick Russian accent. He's like, we're refueling the stuff. You watch this pressure gauge. If it ever gets over like 200, then you got to call us and like, we'll take care of whatever. He climbs up the ladder. And I swear to God, the moment he's out of frame, Ben Affleck turns around going like, it's at 200. What am I supposed to do? And then we see him already calling into the camera, trying to get attention to people, as Stormare like gets out of the ladder, like as he comes into the room. So it lasts all of about 20 seconds before like, oh, there it is. We're already doing the action scene.
And why no one's paying attention to the person who's keeping an eye on a gauge that's very important is also a question, especially since most of them aren't even doing anything important right now. They're just chatting.
Right. That's the bit that also pissed me off about this. It's like, okay, this is effectively just a gas station stop. Like, you don't need every single astronaut to pop out and come in here, especially when half of them are drillers who aren't doing anything. What there should have been was William Fichtner and Gruber. Those are the only 2 who should have needed to come in here, attach the valves, and you're done.
Which, actually, another thing here is that there's no gravity in the station until the ship's attached to it, and they say that because the ships are thrusting to make it spin, it now has gravity. However, now, again, I am not a scientist, I am not someone who works at NASA, my understanding is limited at best, but when you spin in space, right, when you have like a spinning station or ship, right, and the way it creates gravity is that the edge of what's spinning is where the gravity is. That's why when they have, like, say, like a central shaft, right? If you're on one end, you've got gravity, but you climb up it, you basically lose weight as you go up to the middle, and then you have gravity going the other way as you go down the other side, right?
Yeah.
This station is just a cylinder, and it's spinning as a cylinder. So why is there... I don't understand how there's gravity inside this station, because the ships are making it spin. I understand why the ships themselves may have some gravity right now, because they're on the edges.
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and quote Michael Bay with "shut the F up." I think that's the proper answer here. But no, it does. Look, there's also several sequences in here where, like, you know, once all the fireballs start happening and everyone has to evacuate, and there's zero sense of geography. There's stuff exploding, and it looks like it is tumbling down at them. It doesn't look like it's exploding out. It looks like it's falling to Earth. And that's fine if you want to have gravity falling to Earth, but then that's the explanation. That's the reason why you're in close enough to Earth's gravity that it still is impacting you to a degree.
Yeah. Again, limited understanding here, but everything about this, it felt like just a hand wave of saying this is why we have gravity right now. So it might as well have been, you know, super future sci-fi. We have anti-gravity, a switch that just turns on, and now we have gravity. May
as well. Yeah. There's no reason not to.
So they all get away on the two ships.
There's a lot of deaths here, actually.
Well, there's a couple of deaths, but like, no one you're going to care about or remember.
No, definitely not. To be fair, I think Owen Wilson died in this scene, but if you told me he died 30 seconds later in the next big action thing, I would believe you there too.
I want to say it's in the crashing in the next part, but I mean, I could be wrong, to be honest. It was hard to keep track.
Also, just to give the audience a little bit here, because we're basically done the space station scene. Like, the whole thing is they gotta, AJ and Lev, who is Stormare, they gotta hop in at the last second, and they outrun the fireball and blah blah blah. When Billy Bob Thornton was telling us the plot, when he was telling us the plan, he specifically laid out the timetables on these things, and he said, you're gonna launch. You're going to take about an hour before you're going to meet up with the Russian station. And then you're going to take 60 hours, 2.5 days, to make your way to the moon, where then we're going to launch this slingshot thing. The movie shows them escape from the station as it explodes, all big fireballs and such. And then we're at the moon. What happens in the 2.5 days? Screw you.
Yeah, there's no sense of time passing, and that's a constant problem in this movie, is the time passing is not addressed or felt at all in the actual editing or the way the story's told. So constant problem with that. And then the next big section is basically just when they're trying to land on the asteroid, really, and there's like a field of rocks hurling past them, so the pilots are having to dodge and duck and dive. And the second ship, the one that Ben Affleck's on, is the one that gets badly damaged. The pilots get killed pretty early on and they tumble. And everyone thinks they're all dead, right? The other ship thinks they're dead. NASA thinks they're dead. Liv Tyler's crying her poor eyes out. You know, all that is going on. But of course, Ben Affleck has survived in a spacesuit, as has Michael Clark Duncan, as has the Russian who's also on the ship with them. And everyone else on that ship is dead. So they take the rover, the big, I think they call it the Armadillo, the big rover that's got the drill bits in it. And they basically just start driving. That's their plot. Like, they're on their way trying to find the main ship. The not the one's more main than the other, but I just mean plot wise.
Bruce Willis' ship, the one that survives. Yeah, and also obviously they crash, but Bruce Willis' ship also has overshot the intended landing site by like 25 miles or something ridiculous.
Yes, so the ground that they've landed on is a lot tougher than what they were supposed to be digging through. So that's like another little wrinkle in the job. So.
So one bit I want to talk about, because this is where it starts to get really prevalent, is the cutaways to NASA, the cutting back down. And there's a subplot here where they start drilling with the Armadillo. It's not going well. Like you said, they only hit down to like 50 feet when they're supposed to be much deeper than that. And there's cutaways down to NASA where they start discussing basically just, well, let's do the initial plan of setting off a nuke at the surface rather than deep in the core, because some nuke is better than any nuke. And they also throw in some random stuff about how they're going to lose radio signal or whatever.
Yes.
So it's on a timetable. I think that during the plot where we are trying to deal with, like, oh, can we stop them from doing the nuke prematurely, even though we can't talk to them or whatever like that, I think that stuff is fine to cut down to NASA for. everything else feels like padding and superfluous, just adding in, trying to like get the extra emotion of, oh no, Liv Tyler's sitting there all alone in a conference room.
The amount of times we cut back to Liv Tyler looking concerned is like laughable. It happens frequently. It happens when she thinks her boyfriend's died. She's crying on the couch, so on and so on. And then, obviously, later on, when Ben Affleck shows, and he shows up after a big tragedy. Like the main armadillo with the drill gets destroyed, and the chubby guy Max gets killed with it, and he gets thrown out of space. And they think it's all over. We can't keep drilling. And then Deus Ex Machina, Ben Affleck comes turning around the corner, and they all start cheering. They're happy to see him. It's like, your boyfriend's back, Liv, and she smiles, and it's a whole big moment.
Now, you're right. That's exactly what happens. That's totally what happens.
I've glossed over 30 minutes of stuff. I know. I realize that.
No. I'm more specifically talking about. So I said that thing where when they passed the moon or whatever, the meteor started spinning, and so they're going to lose radio signal. Maybe I'm the idiot here, but didn't that timetable pass? And like they don't have radio signal. How is it that like NASA knows everything that is happening past the point where they lose radio signal?
No, they do put in a line. They explain this.
Okay, what was it? Because I missed it.
They're bouncing a signal off a Russian satellite. They did say that.
Okay.
I'm not saying that justifies it. I'm just saying that's what they said to justify it. That's all.
Sure. You know what? You go, Michael Bay. You do what you got to do to make your story make sense. Maybe, I don't know, a better writer would be involved, but you.
Okay, so we have a few things going on here. Steve Buscemi pretending the nuclear bomb's his dick and reenacting Dr. Strangelove just because that's a bit we have to go through.
Well, they explicitly put in during like the testing stuff in the beginning. They're like, we just want to make sure that none of you are gonna, lose your marbles up there. You're all gonna be mentally stable or whatnot. Oh. And Steve Buscemi goes the extra mile to say like, I'm the smartest man to ever exist. I'm a super genius. I'm totally gonna be fine. So when he starts to lose his marbles up there due to the absolute certainty of death, it's kind of following up from that a little bit.
You reminded me of something though. I wanted to bring up a couple of phrases in this that really bugged me. Because they're really dumb. One early on, when he's explaining to the president, Billy Bob Thornton says, "This is what we call," because the president asks how much damage are we looking at if this thing hits. He's like, "This is what we call a global killer." And I went, "Wait a minute, right? Extinction level event sounds like a real phrase. That's what they used in Deep Impact. That sounds like a real thing that NASA might say. Global killer sounds like something a 12-year-old came up with thinking it sounds smart." So,
well, see, the original scripted version was Big Boom Rock, but they needed to make it a bit classier.
It just sounds dumber. And then the other one that got me is when they realized Steve Buscemi's going off his rocker in space. Well, Victor's got a name for it.
Favorite line.
He's got a name for it. What does he call it? The space?
He's first off, I need to set the stage. Steve Buscemi has managed to take like VR control of a minigun, and he's just gone insane, and he's just firing it off at everything in just a sense of defeatism and nihilism. And William Fichtner, God bless his heart, he is trying to make this a serious line.
I just want to ask a question before you finish this up. What's that minigun for? Why is it there?
Aliens. So... in case Megatron wakes up on the moon. Anyway. So yeah, he's got the minigun, he's firing around, all that sort of stuff. And William Fichtner, bless his heart, he is trying to make this a serious line. As Bruce Willis tackles Steve Buscemi, he says, "Oh no, he's got space dementia."
You have to say that with a straight face.
Laughing. Exactly. It's just, oh no, space dementia.
Space dementia. Because you know what it is? You remember in The Abyss, they talk about, I can't even remember what they call it, but the deep sea syndrome or whatever it's called. But they had like an acronym. Yeah, but it was this idea that you sort of lose your marbles a little bit. And I buy that that's something that happens in space. The isolation, the fear of death. Like, I buy that some people will be affected, but the idea that they just call it space dementia is the silliest effing thing I could possibly think of.
It's the idea of global killer.
Yes.
It's like, okay, if we use the actual technical term, the dumbest possible audience member is not going to get it. So instead, we're just going to give it this thing that sounds all frilly. It's like, ooh, space dementia.
Oh dear. So they end up just taping him to a chair after that. But there was a whole segment in here as well where when they're considering setting off the nuke on the surface, William Fichtner, who's like knows about this as a potential backup plan, pulls out a gun and tells them that this is what's happening, and Bruce Willis has to fight him to get the gun away from him. And, you know, someone rightfully says, why do you have a gun in space? Which also makes me go, what about the minigun? Why is there a minigun that's got like VR controls or whatever it is? And it would be one thing if like they used it. See if they actually had a sequence where it's like, hey, in case any like sort of small rocks are going to hit us, like someone's going to man this thing and shoot them down. I'd be like, oh, that's fine. But they never mention it. They never show them using it to like establish that's why it's there. It never gets used for any purpose other than Steve Buscemi goes nuts and wants to start blasting rocks because he's going crazy. So
no, absolutely, it's set up not because the plot demands it. It's set up because the moment demands it.
Yes.
That one thing you want to do, we got to have it there for that reason. Oh, although to be fair, again, doesn't make any sense for the sake of why it's on the thing to begin with. But they also use the minigun when Ben Affleck's Armadillo needs to get out of the crashed ship, and he just blasts a bunch of holes in the side of the ship to get out.
Okay.
Obviously not what they planned for, but they did use it twice.
Fair enough. So William Fichtner at the end of this scene's like Bruce Willis is like, hey, let us drill. Like, I know the time looks rough, but I've never missed my mark. I've never missed my dig target in my life, and I'm not going to start today, but I need your help. He's like, promise me you'll hit that mark. And then like,
swear on the life of the life of your child, your daughter. And he's like, well, she's going to die anyway, so I guess I can do that with my conscience.
Yeah, shot of their hands, like grasping together as he helps him up. Inspirational music plays. They're a team now. They're going to do it. And then there's still stupid shit with like Steve Buscemi like dancing outside and like Max cracking dumb jokes or whatever, like all this. And the guy whose name we didn't know, the one who wanted like his girlfriend to get a green card, I think that was like his request earlier on. That's the only thing I remember about him. He dies during like a rock storm at one point. Like he just and that's it. He's gone.
Whatever.
So
it's a whole big thing.
He's a red shirt.
No, so the Armadillo doesn't work. Ben Affleck comes in, like you said, all that, and then they very quickly, again, no time passing. We're told that they have 8 hours. That's their time limit because, and this is another bit that we failed to mention in the plot, they're planning on splitting this meteor not into itty bitty tiny little harmless chunks, but into 2 really big chunks that will then go on other opposite sides of the planet and just go around it like a Looney Tunes cartoon. That's the plan. But if they don't do it by a certain threshold, a certain 0 hour point, then it's just going to crash into Earth anyways.
There was also the subplot of like Ben Affleck on his way there is they had to jump over like a ravine style thing, but he realizes because the gravity's pretty weak that if they just like turn off the thrusters firing down the way to keep it on the ground, they'll just float over, which honestly isn't it's not a wild jump. That's fine. No. Like that makes some amount of sense. Obviously it's still shot horribly because Michael Bay has got ADD and can't keep on a shot for longer than a second and a half. But that was a whole sequence. They get there, they're digging, everyone's happy to see each other. It's all a thing, blah, blah, blah. But the final problem is that the rock storm damages the triggering system on the nuke. So someone is going to have to stay behind to set it off with a manual trigger. And that becomes the debate of who's going to do that. It's draw straws, yada, yada, yada. Steve Buscemi's like, I you can trust me with this responsibility, even though he's clearly a crazy man by this point. So, you know, that's whatever. But they draw straws, and Ben Affleck's the one who pulls the short straw. He's the one who has to stay behind.
Which is notable because he's like the only one who didn't volunteer. Like everyone else managed to stuff. Bruce Willis did it first. William Fichtner did it. Chick was like, oh, I'm not letting Bruce Willis do it. Steve Buscemi also wanted to join in. He's the only one who like didn't stand up and said, I'll do it.
That's not entirely true.
Did he not? I don't remember him saying it.
No, because he's the first one that jumps in and says, let's draw straws, and then someone else...
Oh, yeah, drawing straws, but like everyone else was kind of just saying they would do it regardless of the straws, except maybe Michael Clark Duncan.
No, I think they all just said they were willing to draw straws. I think Bruce Willis was
I read it a different way, but fair enough.
Yeah, Bruce Willis was the only one who flat out just started up and said, okay, I'm staying behind to do it, and then like one person argued, and it became a drawing straws thing. They all agreed to draw straws. Fichtner and the lady are exempt because they have to fly the ship, so lucky for them, they get to go home no matter what. But
also, I'll just say another bad way of shooting things. When they drew the straws,
I couldn't tell which one was the short one.
Right, exactly. Everyone, they literally have the Russian character saying, so does this, am I like is this it? But then it cuts over to Ben Affleck, and he's looking like, oh no. And it's like, oh, I guess he has the short one.
Also, drawing straws is not something that's done in the UK, really. At least certainly not at the time. So when I remember watching this as a kid, and it being even more confusing because I didn't really even know how drawing straws was supposed to work. So nothing about the scene helped me understand why he was the loser.
Yeah, no, it makes absolutely... That's something that, like, we need to have a seminal film just explain it so it's just in the public consciousness for a while, because I don't think it is anymore. But also at the same point, I was just now at this point calming down from space dementia.
Yes, of course.
And then they force William Fichtner to hold a straight face as he holds up all these colorful looking straws. I swear to God, like half of them were silly straws that just had the loops cut off.
They weren't straws. I could tell what they were. They were all just different cables. Like they just wiring from somewhere that he'd cut up. But yeah.
Which makes the most sense, because if they were actual straws, I feel like they'd all just be white. But whatever.
Yeah, it made sense that that's what they had. They had spare cables lying around because they're on a ship. But obviously the big thing here is that Bruce Willis takes him down the little fancy elevator to the surface, and he pulls his oxygen cable or his pipe so that he doesn't have a choice. Like when he pulls him back in the little pod and puts the airlock back on, Ben Affleck can't open the door again because his suit's now been disabled to let him breathe. So there's no going back, and Bruce Willis is taking the command and being like, hey, tell my daughter I love her, blah, blah, blah. I'm proud to have you as my son-in-law, yada, yada, yada. Which, by the way, that arc of him going from I hate you, you're not good enough for my daughter, to I'm proud to call you my son-in-law, it's just kind of taken for granted that he's grown appreciation for him over the course of the movie.
Yes, but it had the one step being that they set up during the training thing that he's pushing the machinery too hard, but he's like, I know this stuff, you got to trust me over the computers. And then when they're actually doing it on the Comet, same exact thing happens, and he's like, you got to trust me, we can get this done if you just trust me over the computers. And Bruce Willis says, okay, fine, and then they do it successfully. So yeah, we wrap up that mini little arc for them, and that allows for the larger arc to complete. It's still token. It's taken for granted that we were always going to get there, but regardless.
Yeah. So he's staying back. Obviously, we get the tearful goodbye to Liv Tyler. They give them a chance to talk to each other on screens. And when I was talking about like a good shot idea that's very cinematic in a vacuum is a good idea, at the end of that conversation where she's saying her tearful goodbyes and he's saying, oh, I wish I could walk you down the aisle, blah, blah, it ends on this shot where all the screens go static and the camera pulls back behind her and her hand's on the screen with her head down, and like there's like a dozen little different size monitors all static, right? And it's a cool enough shot, and it's kind of like, okay, this is a very cinematic, it's over the top, but it's very cinematic. And that's one of those moments where I was thinking, see if the rest of the movie was shot a little bit more restrained, this type of moment would stick out as being really cinematic. But because every single shot is whiz bang, moving into the face, constant cutaways, it doesn't have the same impact, even though the idea for the shot on its own is perfectly good. Yeah.
No, I agree. It's absolutely just drowning in a sea of noise. You're not going to be able to get it out of everything else that this movie's throwing at you way too heavily.
And of course, there has to be some extra tension of, the ship won't start up, which the fix of that is the Russian guy just banging on it with a wrench or whatever it is until it starts working.
No, it's that. And like, again, at a certain point, and this happens across a lot of disaster movies, at a certain point, we as humans just need to accept that God wants us dead. Like, with how many repeatedly over-the-top bad things just keep on happening, at a certain point, stop fighting fate, let Final Destination happen. Because not only is it a thing where the ship won't start up, but Bruce Willis, in the final moments after the ship departs, gets hit by, like, a steam geyser and starts to fall down a hole. And they're all like, oh no, it's been too long, even though it's been 3 seconds. Like, he should have clicked the nuke by now.
Yeah. Yeah, because he gets knocked away by some rocks or something and crawls back to it. But yeah, we do the whole thing. Light flashes before his eyes as he presses the button. Big boom. Which everyone
has like a psychic connection with his daughter as well.
Everyone on Earth sees the blast in the sky, so they get the big show in the sky, just like Deep Impact kind of had in a lot of ways. And yeah, and they know, like within seconds, they say, yeah, it's split up, it's going past the Earth on either side, and I'm like, already? Like, surely that would take at least a few minutes for it to travel. Like,
new trajectories need to be mapped out. Like, exactly. But there's a whole point where, like, NASA specifically said, oh, we didn't expect that the meteor would start spinning when it went past the moon. I have to assume that the futility, like, you didn't know the exact composition of this comet. Maybe blowing it up in half would result in something different than the thing you're expecting.
Yes.
But they immediately come out and say, nope, it's going to miss us. And also all the tiny rocks blew up, so we don't have to worry about anything like Paris again. Phew.
Nothing else bad's going to happen. Cut to shots on the street of people running in slow motion and kids in the little go-karts that look like space shuttles and whatever else they've got going on.
I don't know what city Michael Bay lives in that's stuck in 1950s America, but he found it.
So they do the whole thing because they're in a space shuttle, right? So it lands like a plane on Earth. Like they're back. What feels very quick, right? Even though it would probably be like at least a couple of days. But they land, they get out, they're all walking in slow motion. They do the big hero shot. Liv Tyler runs up and hugs Ben Affleck, and the others, like, you know, the stripper comes up to Steve Buscemi, who, by the way, before he left the shuttle, said, hey, by the way, we're all heroes now, so all that stuff up there with me and that gun, let's keep that under wraps, shall we?
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that.
So the line that broke me, right, the line that is so bad to me, is William Fichtner comes up to Liv Tyler, and he says, I'm here to ask for permission to shake the hand of the daughter of the bravest man I ever met. This is one of the worst written lines of dialogue in a major motion picture. I swear it. It's... In what world would anyone say that sentence?
Whoever wrote that line, I'm just going to blame Michael Bay, but it's got a bunch of writers. Michael Bay, I'm going to fast forward 3 drafts of your script later.
Yes.
Your father was a brave man. Done. It's all you got to do. It's the same line, but it's like a way that people actually talk.
It's just so weird because it's like he's putting all this ceremony on it when all he had to say is your father was such a brave man and put out his hand, and then she can choose to shake it, and it's the same effective interaction but in a much more natural way, and it's said in this clunky way as if it means something to shake the hand of someone connected to the person he's now got a newfound respect for. I don't know. Yeah. It's a whole thing.
No, you're right. It's a dumb moment.
Also, Will Patton's like estranged like ex shows up with the son. The son comes and hugs him, and I'm like, this son just found out this guy was his father like yesterday or whatever it was. Surely, like
3 days ago.
Yeah, but surely he's still. It's not like he's, I'm running to my dad's arms already. He'd be like, oh, this is a little bit awkward, but hey, you seem like a cool guy. You just helped save the world or something. I don't know.
You need to have that moment where, like, she walks up excitedly, but he's, like, shy and bashful.
Yes.
And she goes, this is your father. But we already had that reveal when they were taking off. So, misspent, I guess.
Yeah. And then, did anyone else have anything? I'm just going to forget about everyone else for the most part,
No,
I think.
I literally... Like, again, my wife was in the room after space dementia. She had to stick around for that. And like it, you know, Liv Tyler, Ben Affleck start making out, fade to black. And I just go, one Aerosmith song, please. And then we start up again with Don't Want to Close My Eyes. As, like I said, scenes that I've never seen before because I only ever saw this on TV broadcasts where we do cut ahead to the wedding of Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler.
And there's photographs of Bruce Willis and the other dead drillers, I should say, at the side of the wedding party. So they're there watching on, and we see Steve Buscemi still get his stripper girlfriend. All the others are still there, and then the credits start rolling, and that's the movie pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah, this movie's worse than I remembered it.
Thank you. Because that was what I was thinking during Deep Impact. Like, you were saying, like, oh, I don't know. I remember that one being better. And I remember hating this movie, and I feel justified.
I want to be clear here. When I said it, I remembered it being more fun. Like, it wasn't like I was remembered it being a good movie. Like, I was always under the pretense of, oh, it's going to be silly but entertaining, right? That was the expectation based on my vague memories of it. It's been a long time. Actually watching it again, it's like, no, this is as painful as some of his Transformers movies. It's as painful as The Island was when we watched that. It's full of obnoxious characters, bad humor. editing that just will not rest, that never gives anything a chance to breathe or have any weight to it, because we just have to keep moving. It's guilty of all these things, and it has very little to show as a result. The only real thing you can say for it is that there are some good actors in this. Yeah. And they make certain moments work better than they have any right to. You know, Bruce Willis was a very good actor. He was able to, he had the charisma to sell certain moments in ways that this movie didn't deserve to have someone of that caliber anchoring certain moments the way they are. But it's not enough to make it all work. There's just too much dumb shit to even remotely give it a pass.
No, and I would say we've discussed several times in the rare instances where we do kids movies that there's, we shouldn't be talking down to kids. Like, we shouldn't say this is a kid's movie because it's dumb. Like, there's nothing to say that kids can't watch actually thoughtful content. But if we're looking at this from that lowest common denominator of this is a teen boy movie, like, Michael Bay's got it on lock. And I think if that's what he's aiming for, it's a success. Obviously, it made its money back. It was a huge hit. Like, it was actually a success with what they were aiming for. I just think they should have aimed higher. And that's why I like Deep Impact, because I feel like they were aiming higher. Did it always work? No, but I feel like it worked a hell of a lot better than it did here.
I think it comes down for me is Deep Impact's just a bit dull, and some of the emotional moments are too try hard and corny. This is just a dumb, obnoxious Michael Bay movie. So I probably do come down, and Deep Impact is better of the two now. Like, I'll say that, but it doesn't make me like Deep Impact any more than I did.
Fair.
It's just, okay. Like, I give that like a 6, and we'll see what I give this. Okay.
No, yeah, if anything, I'm probably going to be a lot deeper into the red than you are on this one, because I just, as much as I was, like I said, there's moments to this where it dipped into the, I'm actually having fun laughing at this movie. I feel that you can only get to that point by going through the deliriousness that is the first 2 acts of this movie. I don't think that this is a thing where you can pick a specific scene, except for space dementia. You can show me that on loop, and I'm always going to find it funny.
It's the sort of thing where if they gave us, if everything was still as dumb as it was, but the characters were a bit more likable and less Michael Bay annoying, maybe you could get by as, it's dumb but fun, but because you latch onto the characters. Or alternatively, you could maybe have better action that's shot in a way that isn't annoying, but maybe the characters aren't great, but maybe that would work well enough. But because everything is at the standard it's at, I don't think any of it works.
Honestly, I don't think the way the action was shot, yes, it was tiring, but I don't think that was the biggest thing. I think it was just the nonstop nature of it. The fact that everything was an action scene. You needed to trim that down by 50%.
Scenes where they're sitting around a table talking still film like an action scene. It's
right. Exactly.
Relentless.
There's a bit where the entire thing that's happening is NASA is trying to cut the cord so that they can't launch the nukes. And yes, that is a tense scene in its own right, but they are filming it like a spy thriller instead of a dude typing in 3 commands at a terminal.
Yeah, know when to slow down. That's the important thing, right? That's
absolutely.
Just know when to slow the goddamn down. But anyway, David, what are you rating Armageddon out of 10?
I think as I wrapped up the movie, I was still just kind of in that area of laughably bad and would probably give it a little bit of leniency. But we've talked about it now, and I hate this movie. I really, really hate this movie. I think that while there is an audience for it, obviously, I'm not sure how much that audience would have carried over the past nearly 20 years. No, am I right for that? 20 or 30? 30 years. That's right.
It's kind of right in between, honestly. It's getting closer to 30, but it's, kind of in the middle.
Yeah, I don't think the audience probably would have carried over that much, but it's just not a good movie. I don't know what people get out of it, except that it's so simple in everything it does that if you choose not to think about it, then maybe you can just get the vague, everything worked out in the end. Okay, fine, I guess. It just, maybe I demand more from my art. But regardless, I think that this one is not going to crack the 5. I'm putting it at a 4.5. I'm not, something in my gut says 3, but that's unfair. That's just completely subjective with nothing else on top of it. So if I'm trying to get some level of objectiveness, 4.5.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what I was going to rate it when I was done. I've been kind of sitting thinking about it on and off as we've been talking about like where am I landing on it. And to me, I feel like a 4 out of 10 is where I'm coming down on it, just because everything we've talked about with the bad script, the annoying characters, all the Michael Bay stuff, the editing, like everything that we've talked about before we even get to scientific just nonsense. And none of that has to be accurate particularly, but there's definitely a level where you're just being so dumb that it's hard to even just turn your brain off and go with it. But yeah, I found it kind of annoying to watch at points, and I also definitely felt the length where at certain points I was like, oh god, there's so much left. I'm tired of this now. I just want it to be finished. It maybe didn't piss me off as much as some of his even worse movies do, but it was a bit of a chore to get through, and it feels like a movie where, while I understood how I maybe got something out of it when I was 10, I think as an adult, I'm like, no, this is one I've left behind completely. This one is not aged well with me. It's one that I have grown completely out of, and because all the stuff about it that worked as a kid is all because it's immature. And once you're past that immaturity, it just doesn't hang anymore. Whereas something like a Ninja Turtles movie still holds up because nothing about it was like, disingenuous as to what it was. It was, it's still heroic characters saving the day and having a brotherly bond. All that stuff's still there. Whereas this one, like, no, all the dumb jokes just feel dumb now and just kind of tiring. So 4 out of 10.
Yeah. And then in terms of making the cut, I will go ahead and just say my default is cut your losses. I'm skipping right past cut from the collection. I'm going deep into it. Cut your losses.
I mean, I could have went either way between cut from the collection and cut your losses. I don't really feel strongly. If you want it in there, I'm not going to fight you on it, honestly.
Cool. I'll take it. And I will choose to close my eyes and try to miss everything.
Yes. Well, there you go. That's Armageddon. So we're still in disaster season, even though we are moving away from the asteroids and the comets and all that.
Angry space rock.
But there is a rock at the center of the Earth that can get angry and needs to be fixed. So we're not going up next week. We're going down. Because, and this is why I put this after these movies, is because it's effectively the same type of movie, but instead of space, we're going into like the core of the Earth. Because next week we're talking about 2003's The Core.
God, I wish I didn't push so hard on how stupid this movie was, because like I now have to defend why The Core might be one of my guiltiest pleasures.
Well, maybe it's got likable characters. I mean, I'm not saying it does, because I don't remember. I mean, I've seen it, but I don't remember it well enough to say that. But maybe that's why it works better, because the characters aren't as obnoxious.
I've definitely seen this in the last 5 years. I've seen this post-lockdown, so it's been more recent.
No, I mean, I saw The Core in theaters when it came out, and I might have seen it once more, like in the couple of years after that, and then it's been since. So 20 years for me since I've seen this. Right. But we'll find out how The Core holds up. If it ever did hold up, which is debatable, because it's not like it was that successful either. No. So
it did great on DVD though.
So yes, that's what we're doing next week on the Collector's Cut. Of course, check out Atomic Cinema Experiment, our sci-fi movie podcast, where this week we had Rogue One, a Star Wars story, much to my chagrin. But we did recently Avatar: Fire and Ash. We did some classic stuff like Tarantula. So go check out our sci-fi podcast, the Atomic Cinema Experiment. It's on the same YouTube channel or in its own podcast feed. But you can support everything and help keep it all coming via Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, or via YouTube membership, and get the bonus ratings rundown segments for each episode. And of course, we do a monthly extra show called Extra Reels, where we review some of the worst movies of all time. And yeah, that's a whole thing we do. For example, we recently did such films as A Karate Christmas Miracle. We did the Amazon Prime War of the Worlds. We did Love on a Leash, Noobs. These are some of the treasures that we have discovered on Extra Reels.
None of those are going to make it to the Criterion Cut like Armageddon did.
You mean the Criterion Collection? Criterion Cut was our show.
Yeah, I'm bringing it back. Just slap a different label on this one.
Yes, which, by the way, I am starting to put those out occasionally, the old episodes, publicly.
I noticed. Yeah.
So that'll be something that's happening over time. And part of the reason for that is because eventually there will be seasons where some of those will be relevant, so they can go into the playlists with them, and we'll have more, just more of that stuff available. But that'll just be occasionally. Those will go out on YouTube and whatnot. Audio feed-wise, I didn't really think about it. Maybe I will try and maybe slot one in between seasons on the audio feed for fun's sake.
If you listen to this via audio feed and you're still listening now, go ahead and contact us somehow. Leave a comment or something if you absolutely need it in an audio feed, and we'll hit it. We'll get it to you. Yeah.
I mean, you can message us or go into the Discord server and put a comment in one of the rooms in there. Or you can leave a comment on the YouTube video. Either's fine with me. But that is the show, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. We do appreciate it. Disaster season continues next week with The Core. We'll see you then. Keep watching movies, and if you can get it, it's always nice to have diplomatic immunity.